Hello, hello, hello. Greetings. Divine greetings. Today we're going to get into another Pranic reading. As we take another look inside of this book called A Year Without Food. Taking a look into more as we explore what's in store from the mind of a gentleman named Maor. And this is a new direction as we head into another section. And if you have not yet heard the beautiful words from the beginning, from the introduction, you can go back and check that out in the playlist Pranic Pages with wisdom of the ages from today's modern sages. So thank you so much for listening as we go into this informal reading and continue proceeding. Individual benefits. Knowing that you are living mostly from pure energy dramatically changes your life perspective. You begin to better understand the way the mind works, and you can master self-control. You receive a deeper understanding of reality. You realize you are playing a game, and in this game, you are the creator. It is a game played by consciousness. It is the game of being a human being. And the theme of the game is you see, and you as you see yourself here in this life. The levels of the game consist of your life experiences, your lessons, and your spiritual growth. A happier life. Playing the game as a Breatharian allows you to choose how to perceive your life, and the life you live becomes what you perceive it to be. Choose happiness and fitness and believe in your own inner strengths. When you understand you are the creator of your own reality, you discover heaven on earth. And isn't that what most of us are looking for? Heaven on earth. Has it not been here since birth? When choosing yourself first, for better or worse, realizing you can even let go of hunger and thirst. Wow. A worthwhile challenge. Life is full of challenges, and this is a gift. Think about it. Without challenges, there can be no growth. Each challenge teaches us more about ourselves and pushes our limitations and expectations higher and higher. It teaches us patience and self-discipline. It gives us more self-confidence. You know, I love this. As we're talking about how the only limitation really is our imagination. And when given that sensation, you can understand and have more appreciation for the time that is at hand, you know, for the energy that is always in demand. Letting go of I can't, realizing you can. But it's interesting because, you know, when you're talking about the challenges, I used to play a lot of video games, and if it was on easy mode, I didn't want to play it anymore. It was only when I put it on hard that I was challenged to go far. Our memory system is directly connected to our senses, as well as to our high and low emotional states. You will not remember what you did at 6 p.m. on a normal Tuesday 2 weeks ago, but you will remember breaking your own bowling record, since it is directly connected to a feeling of achievement, an important event. I like the expression, life is easy for those who live it hard, because I believe one has to endure in order to appreciate. This is why over-spoiling our children can hinder them when they grow older. The feeling of your first hard-earned, money-bought item is better when you know you have worked to achieve it. The challenge of being a breatharian can be great. Some of the difficulties are discussed in a later chapter. Facing the challenges and overcoming them teaches us persistence and strengthens our ability to preserve and persevere. This builds strong character. And as we know, with persistence means keep going, but perseverance means push through, right? And these are some of the things that influence and impact all that you do. A person who gives up quickly or who changes his or her mind all the time will invariably cope less well with difficulties throughout their lives. If we want to trust ourselves, we need to trust that we will persist when required, give all we can, and do our sincere best before we give up. Appreciation. A breatharian discovers how to fully and truly appreciate sensory input. One learns how to appreciate even the tiniest flavor in a drink. Your sensitivity sensory stimulation, say that 3 times fast, is dramatically amplified. And I will definitely agree. I could definitely relate and appreciate when there was so much more to be felt on my palate. When I let go, that so much more I was able to feel, taste, and appreciate, and even identify. It was amazing because before, when I was consuming all sorts of things, I would just be dumping dressings and condiments and flavorings and seasonings, and there was no reasoning, right? But the moment I started to reduce, it started to induce a reaction. It started to reveal, and I started to feel much more satisfaction from just a little amount that I even would just dab on my tongue. It still blows my mind today. Wow. Those who go back to eating describe a newfound appreciation for the flavors and textures of food, as well as for the endurance of the physical body, the vessel which has amazing abilities and enables us to have great experiences. So yes, you know, before, when I was throwing the hot sauce and the Parmesan garlic and the ranch dressing and the ketchup and the, you know, the everything all over everything, right? Just to taste it. It was bland without it, right? When I went on a solid food vacation and just went on liquid, and even more so when I just went into dry and just let everything lie, right? When I went back, I took a dab of the sauce and put it on my tongue, and I swear to you, I could taste every ingredient on the label. I could taste the vinegar, the this, the that, the like the sodium, all of that stuff. I could taste everything. It was like, oh my God, what? So it showed me that I had actually been numb, in a desensitized state, unable to appreciate. Less sleep and less shopping. Let's talk about it. This is my personal favorite. The basic rule of thumb for a breatharian is that they only need about 2/3 of their typical sleeping hours. The most logical explanation for this is that the body requires less energy to digest food and is therefore less tired. I also have a more complex theory, namely that during sleep our minds sync with higher vibrations and the higher self. Interesting. As I understand it, breatharians require less sync time because they are connected to their higher selves throughout the waking day. A normal human being either goes to sleep late and wakes up late, or goes to sleep early and wakes up early. Research shows that only 4% of the population sleeps about 3 to 4 hours a night. I used to envy this 4%. I am now one of them and sleep between 3 and 5 hours a night instead of 7 to 8 hours before my initiation. Sleeping less became a wonderful gift. I started to go to sleep between 1 to 3 a.m. and woke up around 6 or 7 a.m. to meditate and be the first one in my office. I love my job. As my mornings became longer, I took up frequent meditations and did basic exercises or read a chapter from an inspiring book before starting the day. I started watching movies, took long walks, and learned to play the guitar. Now here we go. Here we go, Ray Maor, as we are exploring even more. You know, one of the great things that could be a great thing for some and might not be a great thing for others is when sleep reduces. When your sleep quotient goes down and more energy starts to abound and starts to resound within your vessel, do you take it as a blessing or as a curse? For some, they can feel at their best, while for others, it's a little bit worse, right? Because there's no instruction manual and there's no real way to rehearse the amount of energy that starts to come in to the body. Imagine yourself awake when everyone else is asleep. You know, not a sound, not a peep. How would you find, with all of that time, would you allow yourself to further unwind? Or would it start to feel like a bit of a bind? Like a bit of a grind? Would you start to feel bored if certain things are not explored? Would more energy in your body start to feel like a chore? For if that energy is not used for something productive or something constructive, it might be used for something destructive. If we don't create with that energy, what might we make with that energy? It's interesting, the things that we might take for granted and the seeds that might come to be planted. When we start to receive the things that we had asked for in our past, by starting to fast, but how long will that last? And this is why Ellie Tom used to tell us, be careful what you wish for. Because when you get it, it might not be what you wanted. You might find yourself haunted. It's an interesting thing, what energy brings. All this additional time can be used for spiritual growth. Here we go. Learning and self-fulfillment. It is an opportunity for us to reach higher levels of self-mastery. Another reason for the decreased hours is that I became less preoccupied with food. I did not need to shop often, prepare food, or wash the dishes. Whew! All that extra time on your hands. Come on, man. Okay, you're not eating. You're not preparing. You're not cooking. You're not washing. You're not cleaning. You're not putting away, right? So much more time. Time for you to realign. Time to tap into the divine, right? So much more. I did not. Hey, how's it going? You're good? Blessings to you. Enjoy your walk. Yeah. All right. Shopping is now an occasional event to pick up some juice or basic fresh fruits for a tasty smoothie. This simpler life, without feeling thirsty or hungry, or needing to nourish myself with food, also allows me to seek out exciting new taste experiences. Financial independence. Although this is not one of the main considerations you should think about before you become a breatharian, it is true that food is one of our highest living expenses. Whether the food comes from the supermarket, eating out, or ordering in, most of our paychecks go towards feeding ourselves. There are also indirect expenses, such as spending money on gas to drive to stores. Saving money in this way makes us less dependent on the currently accepted system and allows us more money to spend on the things that ultimately make us happier as individuals. The key word here is independence. Not thinking about food. Because eating is a daily habit, most of us eat according to the clock. We wake up and eat. It's 1 o'clock at work, so we eat. We come home from work and we eat. Some of us also have serious issues and a lot of self-judgment around eating. We judge ourselves by what we eat, how much we eat. We find ourselves in a negative or positive emotional state and either console ourselves or celebrate with food. That was the biggest one for me. I actually would eat a lot of things out of celebration, you know, being in a high vibration and then kind of putting myself down whenever that energy would start to come around. All of this hinges on our own perceived body image, how we physically look versus the way we think we look, and the way we think others think and feel about the way we look. Isn't that interesting, right? The collective perception that can lead us to depression, you know? But if we weren't in this constant comparison game, would it lead us to that guilt and shame? Our personal relationships with food are complicated and hard to define unless considered individually. Whether one is a bodybuilder or a high school student, a tremendous amount of thinking and emotional energy goes into what, when, and how much we eat. As a breatharian, all this is simplified. It is a great advantage not to have to deal with any of this mind play. These are the basic building blocks of happiness. In addition, if you are overweight before beginning the process, a breatharian lifestyle will ultimately bring you to your ideal weight. For most people, this means they can stop worrying about how they look, forget about diseases that may be incurred because of excess weight, and accept that they are at their finest when they are living a breatharian life. Spiritual benefits. Long ago, when I began my crusade to change the world, thank you, Ray, as some New Agers would call it, I was naive enough to believe I could talk sense into people, and I tried to change the ones I met. We know that's a losing battle. One that might leave you in regret when you try to change the people you met. You know, people might forget what you say or what you do, but they don't forget how they feel whenever they are around you. I have since come to realize that the only way one can truly change things in others as well as the entire world is by setting an inspiring example. And one of my mentors told me that's how you spell leader, is E-X-A-M-P-L-E. And that the only way that we can be free is for you to be you and for me to be me. Being a real life example to others. Becoming a breatharian allowed me to set a personal example for breaking down the illusions that keep us locked into this widely accepted subhuman form. Leading by example can bring about changes in consciousness. It allows me to illustrate to others that we do not really have material needs. We just want stuff. But in the wanting, there is beauty. Like they say, luxuries once tasted become necessities, you know? Sometimes we confuse our needs with our wants. This is a very liberating insight because it means human beings are able to reach their highest potential and the highest levels of happiness. It assists in shattering our myths about wanting and needing, and opening our minds to new possibilities. Happy for no reason. You do not need anything to be happy. Come on, baby. Talk to him, Ray. Talk to him. But we live in a society which keeps forgetting that. Let me say it one more again. One more again for the people in the back. One more again. You do not need anything to be happy. But we live in a society that keeps forgetting that. I have embraced a happy for no reason philosophy since 2007. Hallelujah. And completely live this truth. This is a philosophy that destroys dependence on external fantasies to be happy. You hear that? I just love the birds. The bird song is so calming, so healing, so wonderful. You think the birds need a reason to be happy? You hear all that chirping? You hear that energy working? In other words, you might think a new cell phone, a lover, or a good grade at school will make you happy. But when you actually achieve these things, more often than not, your mind remains unsatisfied. To cope, it instantly seeks the next big distraction. The result? Sustainable happiness remains repetitively elusive. Furthermore, most people will not allow themselves to be happy without a specific reason to be happy. This sets one up for failure because when you base your happiness on an external reason, the reason can be taken away from you. Your partner might break up with you. You might lose your job, your money, your health. You may also stop appreciating the new car, cell phone, apartment. One of the best ways to retain a high, constant level of happiness is to have no specific reason for happiness. If everything in your life is fine and nothing is severely negative, why not just be happy and content with what you have in the present moment? Ideally, to maintain personal happiness, one should cultivate an attitude of gratitude. Woo! Come on, baby. Remind yourself daily of all the beauty in your life, the little things and the big things, the relationships you share with friends and family, the comforts you are blessed with, the smells and visual poetry that surrounds you every waking minute in the world. I feel church up in here. We out in nature church. It's nature church today. An attitude of gratitude. I once met a CEO of this company back when I was in California, and I had a shirt that said gratitude mindset. And the CEO, he asked me, and I didn't even know he was a CEO at first. He was like this big business guy, met at a convenience store. And he was like, "Oh, so you grateful, huh?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay. How many days in a row you been grateful?" And it was at that moment that I realized what he was trying to tell me, you know? Like, yeah, it's cool to be grateful, but how can you be grateful every day, you know? Not just once in a while, but how can you always find a reason to have a smile, you know? Not saying that there are not things that happen, but to realize that you yourself are the captain steering your ship, right? This whole life is a trip. So even if you are stripped and feeling a struggle, can you still allow for happiness? Being happy, not because everything is good, but because you can see the good in everything. And that was the difference that he was trying to let me know. One of the best ways to retain a high, constant level of happiness is to have no specific reason for happiness. Right. So, attitude of gratitude. Secondly, don't take bad things too seriously. Everything that arises will eventually pass. Be grateful that you are healthy, that you have people who love you, that you are alive in an amazingly complex body, and that you have time for self-realization. Otherwise, you would not be reading this book. Be grateful that you have options in life, that you have freedom and can exercise free will. There are so many good things we should all be grateful for. If you make a list, it will not end quickly, and you will find yourself sitting around for a long time with a huge smile. Mind over matter. We all understand mind over matter intuitively, but many people fail to grasp the fullness of the fact that there is truly nothing stronger in this world than the human mind. In the process of becoming a breatharian, you prove to yourself that the spirit transcends the physical world, and the mind is the key to creating your reality. So our mentality creates our reality. It's very powerful, you know. Say the mind can either be a wonderful servant or a cruel master, right? And if we realize this, we can get there faster. When you become a breatharian, you truly understand that if you can imagine something, it is possible to achieve it. So it's coming to understand that if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand, right? If one does not need food to live, perhaps there is no need also for water. Likewise, perhaps there is no need for us to get sick or even die. The power of faith is a big subject with a wide spectrum of possibilities. In some cases, it can cure diseases, as discovered with the placebo effect. When you come to understand this fully, your world will change for the better. Greater connection to your higher self. Without food, there is less matter to keep you grounded on earth and in human affairs. This amplifies your connection to your higher self, the superego and the astral planes. This is powerful because when your connection and when our connection to our higher self is strong, we feel empowered. We become peaceful, intuitive, knowing, and we feel more. In this way, we understand the unity of life and our connection with all living beings. Environmental benefits. Did you know that it takes between 5,000 and 20,000 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of beef? This number sounds seriously wrong and inflated, but it is true. This calculation takes into account the entire process, beginning with the irrigation of the animal's food crops, all the way to how much and what the animal drinks. Helping Mother Earth. It is not just omnivores who impact negatively on the earth. Did you know that over 30% of the average household garbage bag is filled with compostable bio-waste? In addition, there are direct and indirect types of pollution generated by manufacturing plants. The need for numerous watering pipes in these plants and the trucks that move food products. Eliminating waste in the food industry. The primary areas that require pollution control in the food processing industry are wastewater and solid waste. Of concern, here are biochemical oxygen demand, or BOD, and total suspended solids, TSS, in wastewater, which have a negative impact on the receiving environment. The same goes for excessive nutrient loading, namely nitrogen and phosphorus compounds, pathogenic organisms resulting from animal processing, and residual chlorine and pesticide levels. BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, measures the amount of food or organic carbons that bacteria can oxidize. The higher the BOD value, the greater the amount of organic matter available for oxygen-consuming bacteria. When BOD levels are high, dissolved oxygen levels decrease, and oxygen available in the water is consumed by bacteria. Less dissolved oxygen in the water means that fish and other aquatic organisms may not survive. In short, high BOD indicates polluted water. This measurement assesses the effect which discharged wastewater has on the environment. TSS indicates the dry weight of particles trapped by a filter. It is a water quality parameter that may be used to assess the quality of wastewater after treatment in a wastewater treatment plant. Solid waste. Both organic and packaging wastes generated by the food industry need to be processed. Organic wastes are rinds, seeds, skin, and bones from raw foods, plus the residue from processing operations. Inorganic wastes typically include excessive packaging materials such as plastics, glass, and metal. The good news is that organic wastes are finding ever-increasing markets for resale, and companies are slowly switching to more biodegradable and recyclable products for packaging. Excessive packaging is being reduced, and recyclable products such as aluminum, glass, and high-density polyethylene are used where possible. Fruit and vegetable waste. The wastewater generated by the fruit and vegetable processing industry is high in suspended solids, organic sugars, and starches, and may contain residual pesticides. For the most part, solid waste not resold as animal feed is handled in conventional biological treatments or composting. The total amount of material generated is a function of the amount of raw material moved through a facility. For example, a given weight of apples produces a given weight of peel and seed waste. Meat, poultry, and seafood waste. Meat, poultry, and seafood facilities produce waste streams that are more difficult to treat than fruit and vegetable wastes. The killing and rendering processes create blood byproducts and waste streams highly extreme in BOD. The negative effects of which have already been discussed. These facilities are prone to spreading disease via pathogenic organisms carried and transmitted by the livestock, poultry, and seafood they process. Waste streams vary by facility, but can be generalized as processed wastewaters, such as carcass and skeleton waste. Rejected or unsatisfactory animals, fats, oils, and greases, animal feces, and blood, and eviscerated organs. Most facilities produce all of these. The above barely scratches the surface of pollution, misuse, and food waste. Just imagine the food chain from the source all the way to your plate. Take into account the trucks used to transport the packaging, the store that houses the products, supply rooms and staff, and you can see that for everything we eat, there is a long trail of impurity that impacts on the environment. When we look objectively at today's processes of food production, we find that it is not done with love and consciousness. Monsanto's worldwide monopoly, now bought out by Bayer, produces chemical wastes that run off into the earth and damages the delicate biodiversity that is needed to make this planet run harmoniously. By becoming a breatharian, you rid yourself of much of the bad karma associated with how your food ends up on your plate. And we'll go ahead and take a pause right there. And we will come back for the next section, heading into another direction. But I trust that you enjoyed this recollection and that it will assist you in your own progression. Pranic living can be its own kind of profession, leading you out of states of depression. It is amazing in this time where we are becoming much more aligned, coming to find that we see all the signs leading us closer to the divine. So thank you for being and breathing with me as we are ascending the different stages with this wisdom of the ages. We'll see you next time on Pranic Pages.